Hola amigos de Placer Culpable. Hoy quiero presentarles a los protagonistas de la película Batman con Robet Pattinson, el vampiro pálido de Crepúsculo del año 2008, que fue precisamente cuando lo conocí y me di cuenta lo cercano que es con la prensa, si hasta se paró, nos saludó de la mano y a mí me dio un abrazo, lo que no es para nada usual. Claro que no había pandemia. Hace como 15 días hablé con él vía Zoom y estaba junto a Zoe Kravitz Gatúbela. Escuchemos qué fue lo que nos dijeron a propósito de esta película que está en cartelera.
First off, the script that Matt Reeves wrote it felt very, very particular and singular, and it felt different. It was a completely different take on the character, and I was very connected to Bruce's psychological state in this telling of it. But then, after I initially read the script, and you first read, you think, okay, I know how to do this, and then you actually try and break it down, try and do it, and you're thinking, oh my God, this is a mountain to climb. And so I read pretty much every single Batman graphic novel I could get my hands on. I'd had a million conversations with Matt, and then spent months trying to figure out the right voice to do, and because everyone always asks what your Batman voice is. And then, yeah, I mean, we had a long time to shoot it. I mean, Matt likes doing he's very, very careful and methodical when he's shooting, and so it always felt like we had a lot of time to work out the right way to do things. Yeah, I mean, it's it definitely feels the natural place for a Batman voice is kind of in a lower than my natural register, and because I haven't really done any vocal training things in my life, like you have to sort of teach yourself to somehow be able to project in in that kind of lower octave, which takes a little while. And you have to exercise it the whole time. A few months after I finished doing the movie, when we went back to do additional dialogue stuff, I couldn't do it at all. I mean, I almost lost my voice doing it. So I was obviously intuitively figured out how to do vocal exercises.
Yeah, Selena, she's a rough girl. She's grown up on the street. She works at this club. And so it was really fun to incorporate the kind of latex thing that, with the underground club and the cat suit. It's, this is before she really becomes Catwoman. So we wanted to see, where that whole idea started. And so developing this motorcycle suit that she wears when she rides was really the idea behind the cat suit that we developed.
Well, that's tough.
Me.
I mean, I think that's the interesting thing about the character. It can be interpreted in in a million different ways, and I mean, I grew up on. I was the first. I grew up on Michael Keaton's ones and was obsessed with them when I was a kid, and I loved all the Christian Bale ones. But I mean, I love Clooney and Val Kilmer's ones as well. And I think it's and Ben Affleck. Sorry, I don't want to miss one out. And Kevin Conroy and Adam West.
All right.
Love all of them.
The best Batman?
Yeah.
Rob. It's Rob. Rob is the best Batman.
Correct.
Pay me.
También estaba en esta reunión Colin Farrell y John Turturro, grandes actores. Colin Farrell irreconocible como el Pingüino y John Turturro como el villano Carmine Falcone.
I honestly feel like the majority of the preparation and heavy lifting was done by the makeup artist and his team. Mike Marino, who designed the makeup, designed Oz's face, and a lot of it was the aesthetic. A lot of it was the writing was fantastic. The scenes I had were really well designed by Matt, and I just inhabited what I was given so many gifts on this one. The bodysuit, the makeup, the whole thing, and it was just a case of inhabiting it. And I'm sure I draw it from a lifetime's worth of gangster films and shady characters, and you know, but it was it was just, the music was good, hit the dance floor, have fun.
Yes.
It was case of that, really, you know.
Well, he's sort of the guy behind the scenes, you know, the one who pulls the strings. Obviously, the Frank Miller comic I looked at, and that was influenced by, like, The Godfather and The Godfather book and everything. And so, you know, he's just been a person who's been there forever and is sort of in hiding at the same time. You know, doesn't want to be seen, but wants to control everything, like a lot of people do. So, me being, you know, with having those little glasses and sort of, you know, have his own little mask, you know, I thought it was something interesting to explore within this world. And Matt created a really, you know, a nice environment for everyone to participate in. But, you know, what Colin is saying is that when you get dressed up, I mean, in his case, it's really like
Extreme.
much more extreme. But
Yeah.
it is the basic idea of what a child does when a child puts on something, and this, you know, you watch a child play at 5 years old, they're
Reckless
really
abandon, you know.
they're really deadly, you know, they're serious,
Commitment.
and they're gone. And so when you see something like what Mike and Colin did, you know, it's sort of the epitome of what maybe your initial instinct was to go into the world, to this world, you know. And it's really kind of great to even stand next to, because you're like, oh, that's what it is, you know, that's what it is, you know. So.
So I can get some back end. No, because
Yeah,
do you know what? The only thing I know, honest to God, the only
as
thing
his
I know
lawyer,
is the only thing I know is, honestly, this film was made starting with Matt Reeves at the helm. You know, both with the quill in hand and as the director on the set. This film was made by a bunch of people who are really passionate about this world and about the mythology of this world and the history of it. And hopefully audiences be entertained by it. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it's about. Hopefully they can be transported to a new world, and yeah, I hope that's the case. But I know Matt Reeves really took it gravely seriously. It was wonderful to work with him and see how passionate he was and how detailed he was. And as John was saying earlier, we had great permission to be free in our performances and try different things. And, you know, but I think it's in good hands, the mythology of the Batman and the world of Gotham.
Yes. And you, Jan?
I think you're going to see a certain part of the story that you haven't seen before, where the characters are emerging and growing and sort of changing into what we then, you know, consider the Penguin or Batman, you know, and what they become. So I've never, you know, I've seen all the movies and I'm a big fan, but this sort of covers different territory. And I think there's a great relationship between Batman and Catwoman in the movie. I think it's a really cool relationship.
Yeah.
I just feel like, what am I doing in a Batman movie? When I saw that, I was like, I'm going to be in this movie. Yeah, I thought it was very exciting. I thought it was exciting, you know, to be a part of it. And it's really a really terrific cast, and we also had a good experience doing it, which you don't always have, you know. Even though we say that in these things before we're put to the hospitality room. No. Well, we really did have. I think most of us had a very.
Yeah,
good,
it was lovely across the board.
Well, it starts with Matt Reeves' script, which was very, very fully realized, and I loved the singular point of view he was bringing to this. I felt how personal this film was for him, and I loved that he was trying to make such an emotional, thematically rich Batman film. Matt referenced some serial killers, and so I did some research on that, which I found to be a little bit harrowing, frankly, to have to sort of look into that world. But I think the biggest thing was in the imagination, just trying to tap into the energy that Matt put there in the script and why this guy was in such pain that he had to sort of unleash it and find his own sense of justice in this very corrupt city.
Ooh, I mean, my character, I think it was inspired by the long history that came before of the character. The first panel in the first Batman comic is Gordon and Bruce Wayne, so it's a long journey to that point. So I took into consideration, some of that to understand where we might take him now in the present day. But actually, as I thought about, a cop in Gotham, I did think about certain references, and interestingly, I thought about the guy who is our current mayor here in New York City, which is the city that Gotham is based on, because he was a cop, and he was when I first moved to New York City, there were some really prominent and intense police brutality cases, one involving a young man named Abner Louima, another involving another young man named Amadou Diallo, and our present mayor was then head of an organization called 100 Black Men in Law Enforcement, Eric Adams I'm speaking of. And he was so forceful, so clear, and spoke with such integrity about these issues. He was one of the only prominent voice from the side of the police that was really seemed to be speaking on behalf of citizens. And so I did look to him as one of the reference, not as the entire. And I happened to know him. I happened to get to know him over time because he was the captain of the precinct in which I lived for some time. So the current mayor of New York City was actually one of the references for me. Yeah, it wasn't the easiest thing in the world. Yeah, it took us a little bit longer to film it than we had thought. Yes.
Also, we had just gotten going, and we had to shut down for 5 months, and everybody has to come back, and I'd never felt more fortunate to have a great job.
Yeah, and it was also, I would look around at us, and I would kind of marvel at it because I thought, we're making something that we want to share with the world, a global experience, and we're all at the same time experiencing the global phenomenon of this outbreak, of this pandemic. But I thought it was really gratifying to be in this place where we were focused on something that was productive, something that we cared about, and we were doing it together in a way that I thought was kind of exemplar. And so at the same time, it was challenging, but it was also gratifying, and we got through it, and I think we made a really wonderful film. I would say, I could say it in one word. It's ours. It's our version. I'll say a couple more. I hope it's new, relevant, and does justice to the history of the franchise.
Well, I feel honored and excited to share it with the fans, and I think the film is the Batman, and I think it's right there behind you and behind us, and I think that says it all. Even the red, even the design, it says what it is.
Well, I think that's the thing. To start a new iteration when there have been so many great movies, that was the challenge, and that was the thing that I had my sights set on from the beginning. And I knew that what I couldn't do and wouldn't do was another origin tale. We've seen that done brilliantly. And so I thought, okay, well, how can we enter into this world and still keep Batman at the center, not do a story where he's already perfected himself into Batman and the rogues gallery characters take over. I wanted Batman's psychological journey to be the center of the story. And I thought, well, what we could do is go back to what the Bob Kane, Bill Finger comics started as, which was really these kind of world's greatest detective crime stories, and to do a kind of noir story in a way, and still have all the spectacle, all of the things that we come to associate with Batman, but put something very detail-oriented, sort of mystery-oriented, crime-oriented, thriller-oriented at its center, and to make the whole thing a very personal journey for Batman. So what starts off as being a serial killer crime like the great comic The Long Halloween takes him on a journey that not only starts describing the history of this city and this place, and brings him to meeting all of these new versions of these Rogues Gallery characters. You meet Selena Kyle before she's Catwoman. You meet an early version of the Penguin before he's the Kingpin. You meet this new version of the Riddler who is toying with him, who seems to know who he is, or at least is writing to him for some reason, and have that journey reveal why this place is so corrupt, and also come back and start to be very personal for Batman, so that as he gets deepest into the mystery, it starts to become incredibly personal and forces him to have a reckoning and an awakening. So I wanted a personal story, and a story that sort of leaned into all of those sides that I felt we hadn't seen before, while still giving you all of the thrills that you can't do a Batman movie without having this. You have to have an amazing Batmobile chase. You have to have all the things that people are expecting. But I thought this other part would give people something that they had never seen in the movies before, that was also still very, very true to what the comics often do. You know, I started writing the movie with Rob in mind. Once I settled on this idea of it being a year two Batman, I started looking at actors who were around Rob's age, and I started looking, I'd always been a fan of Rob's, and I looked at this movie called Good Time by the Safdie brothers, and in it, he had this incredible drive and a kind of dangerous side to him, but in his eyes there was also this vulnerability, and it was that mix of this kind of intense drive that I thought was a Batman drive, along with an emotionality in the eyes that to me was critical to this whole thing, because I knew I wanted this to be an emotional tale for Batman. And somewhere in that, I just started thinking, well, that's him. And I just had my mind set on him, and I had no idea if he would want to play the character. That's the crazy thing. And it turned out that as I got deeper into it, he started pursuing the project from the other side, and he wanted to meet me, and we ended up hooking up. And it turned out that it was sort of fated to be, because he had loved Batman also since he was a kid, and both of us really wanted to try and do something really fresh and new. Hi, everyone in Chile. I hope that you love Batman as much as I do. I know, Batman is not mine, he's ours, right? And I think that we've done something very special, spectacular, different, exciting, something that should definitely be seen on the big screen. I mean, the experience, I think, is quite immersive and quite different. And hopefully still, though, the Batman that you love.
Como una forma de acercar a los actores al país, a Chile, siempre les pido que inviten a su público, a sus fans, a ver la película. Y mire, así lo hicieron.
Hey, everybody in Chile. Hope you all enjoyed the Batman when it opens not next month. No, sorry, let me do it again. In March.
No, next month.
Next month. No, it is next month. Okay. Hey, everybody in Chile. Hope you enjoy the Batman when it opens there in March.
Hey, everyone in Chile. Hey, Chile. Hope you enjoyed the Batman. Comes out next month.
Mientras vemos estas imágenes, quiero decir que ha sido una tremenda suerte haber sido elegida como la única periodista de televisión para poder hablar con este elenco, pero de primera. Me habría gustado, eso sí, mucho más tiempo con cada uno porque son tan interesantes. Si no la han visto, no se la pierdan. Se encontrarán con una gran producción, una tremenda dirección, un elenco excepcional, una historia que atrapa, la música como otro personaje. Son 3 horas que se pasan volando. Una película de detective, policial podría ser, pero apegada al cómic, ideal entonces para los fans. Entretenida, para mí, muy buena. Me gustaría saber las opiniones de ustedes y qué les ha parecido esta entrevista. No se les olvide, placer culpable.